Hey everyone! All right, so our goal today is to recognize and maybe draw some lines and curves. Talk about how they're different. Here we are. Maybe put a few together. So, Nick has a pencil and a ruler. He uses them to draw some very straight lines. Okay? Now the book is going to be very precise about the language they use. Technically, if I say something is a line, it goes on forever. A line in geometry as you get older has arrows on both sides, and it means that it goes on forever in each direction. So technically, this shape is not a line, right? Or this part. It's part of a line. So in high school or college or middle school math, they might talk about this being a line segment, part of a line. So I'm going to say line, right? And technically, I know they're not lines, but they're lines, parts of them anyway. So they have to be straight up and down, straight at an angle, straight across. All of them are fine, and all of them are lines. Now, Nick puts his ruler away, and he starts drawing these things, right? Where he starts in one spot, dips down before coming back up. Or he starts in one spot and slides to the right and comes back around. He's not using that ruler, so none of his lines are straight. They are all curves. Some shapes and pictures have curves. Some shapes and pictures have lines. Some have a combination. So this day in math, we're going to recognize the difference between lines and curves. We're going to look for them and use them in pictures. Quiz time. All you have to say is curve or line. If it's a curve, I'm going to put a C on it so you can see it, right? If it's a line, I'm going to put an L on it so you can see it. What do you think? Easy, it's straight, it's a line. What do you think? Easy, it's curved. You can just see it. It starts here and bows out. What about this strange one? Yeah, I would actually think this is like 1, 2, maybe 3. This is a combination of a bunch of curves or one crazy curve. I'm not sure how you count it, but it's definitely not a line. So curve, line, line, curve, curve. I'm going to show you some shapes. See if you can't figure out curves or lines. So this picture is made up of both things. And if they want you to count the lines and they want you to count the curves, I wouldn't just start counting because you might forget some of these little ones that kind of sneak around these corners. So instead, I would use my same technique where I count the curves by putting a C on them. 1 curve, 2 curves, 3 curves for sure. I found them. I'm going to change colors here and I'm going to look for lines. 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines, 5 lines, 6, 7 lines. Is that right? No. Yeah, 7 because of 1 on the bottom. 3 and 3 and 1 makes 7. So 10 different lines and curves, all labeled. So when I give you pictures today, I would love to see your labels and your numbers down at the bottom. I use 2 different colors. Just saying, if you're doing this on Seesaw, it's really easy to switch colors out. So it makes it kind of nice. The bonus or the challenge activity for today is they're going to describe something that you have to draw. And there are so many right answers to these. So don't think the one I draw is the only one there is because you could have a lot of these. So you need to draw some sort of figure, right? It doesn't have to be a closed figure. It just has to be any sort of figure you can come up with that uses 2 straight lines and 1 curve. So 2 straight lines and one curve. So I could go like line, line, and then I could put a curve on the top, right? Yeah, that's one thing you could draw, but you could very easily draw something else. I could do a curve like this, and then I could put 1, 2 lines like that, right? I could do something like that, right? So just think about it. Lots of right answers. This next one is a little bit harder to think about because I need 2 curves and 1 line. So maybe here I want to go curve that way, and I'm going to go curve that way, and then I'm going to connect them like that. I don't know what it is, but it has 2 curves. I can prove it to you. Curve, curve, line. Some of these are really fun. Think about them and try your best. I'll show you some of the workbook pages I want you to work through today, and then a couple of the fun math activities you get to try. So for number 1, 2, and 3, you have to look at these shapes and trace them if they fit the description. Okay, so don't trace them all. You only want to trace the shape that is all lines in this one. For this one, you're only tracing the shapes that are all curves. And for this bottom one, it needs to have curves and lines together. Right? So if you find one, like, hey, look at this. I find this star and it's made out of only straight lines. It doesn't have any bends, no curvy lines, so I'm going to trace it. Right? But I'm not going to trace some of these other ones that have curves all over. Does that make sense? Now the curves come in for number 2. Those are the ones I'm looking for. Oh, I'm going to be looking for bouncy, curvy flowers, right? This is a great idea. Now, the ones I'm showing you are good examples, but they're not the only examples. There are other answers. You could have more than one right answer. On the back, they're going to have you look at letters and decide if they're made out of straight lines or if they're made out of curves. Which letters are lines? Which letters are curves? Which letters are both? And then they want you to go ahead and draw some letters that use lines only, and then draw some letters that use both lines and curves. When you're done with this, I have a fun math game for you on the next slide. Thanks, everybody. Bye now.